I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And I'm like the Dapper Dawn today, man.
I know. You look really good.
You know,
it's so funny because when I saw this shirt hanging in the closet, I was like, that's weird.
Yeah, it's my John Gotti
But then when you put it on, I was like, okay.
You're horrible with style.
I know.
You have no sauce whatsoever.
No.
Completely sauceless. None. Is this an alliance pick?
No, this is for the big homie My Insanity.
Oh, okay. So that means he did the... Okay, so there are multiple ways to get your song reviewed, dear listener. My favorite way is a community option. $1 to gate at Patreon gets you in to the communities, their alliances, really, really good stuff. We enjoy it. And they have influence over what songs we listen to. Now, the reason we started Patreon in the first place was because you'll notice with other reaction channels, and no disrespect to them, shout out to them, they're great. They'll cut up the video. They'll interrupt, they'll stop, and they'll play, and they'll stop, and sometimes they won't even play the whole video. There's a reason for that. The reason is because you're going to get one of those little nifty messages from YouTube, and what happens is when you see this pop up in your account, what it means is that the record label is taking all your ad revenue for themselves. Okay, so it gets split between YouTube and the record label. If you play the song in total, if you cut it up, then you get to take all that revenue. So everybody that, we tried a couple things. We tried to cut up the videos.
We tried to make 2 videos out of it.
Yeah, it just, experientially, people weren't feeling it. So we said, you know what? We're going to take the hit on the monetization, but I bet you anything, at the time we had like 5,000 patrons. I mean, 5,000 patrons, right? At the time we had 5,000 subs. I said, you know what? If everybody gives $1, we'll be fine. We'll be able to make up for it. That's how Patreon started. Then it metastasized into this really cool thing. So anyway, $1 gig gets you a Patreon. But if you don't want to be part of an alliance and you're a filthy capitalist like Sori, you can...
Or you just don't want to wait.
Skip to the head of the line. You can skip to the head of the line like you do in Disney World. And a fast pass option is $125. And if you do it 3 times... Not even in a row, but if you do the 125 3 times and you get pushed down to the $75 option. Somebody just recently, the big homie Rodney, he just recently went from the 125 to the 75. If you were in the $75 tier and you did it 3 times before the price changed, you got grandfathered in right there. So that's My Insanity, and My Insanity's at that, and he's at that rate. Now, you can do that via Patreon. If you really want to jump to the head of the line, then you do it via PayPal. VinandSoriMerch@gmail.com is our PayPal address, and you do that, then not only do you get to the front of the line, but it's a lot quicker because what happens on Patreon is that you have to cycle it for a month and then whatever. Okay.
Is this a weird copyright claim here?
Yeah, that's usually what happens when they copyright claim live shows, but they don't want to completely block the video. It's them saying that they're going to get a cut of the thing. That was a Foo Fighters video that we just released. That happens every single time we do Rammstein. Every time we do Rammstein, you get that one.
All right.
Unless it's official Rammstein.
It's so funny because every time you talk about this, I go to vinandsori@gmail.com to try to find the copyright claims because I know there's a ton of them. Like, there's so many. How come I can't find them?
Yeah.
It's the other email.
Yeah, we've got like 19. Dumb butt.
All right.
Oh, shout out to the big homie Rob Keller. You're a legend, my guy.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's do it.
Legends. Ready?
Keller the Killer. I like this like this.
Elsewhere.
This stinging feeling burns like the sun within my paralyzed lungs. It hurts to breathe when I have to say goodbye. Evermore, you have closed your eyes. My voice is strained with disbelief. I got a hole where my heart used to be. This stinging feeling burns like the sun within my paralyzed lungs.
Aw. That's a sad one.
Yeah, before we started recording today, I was listening to Janaea Welch, Head's daughter, talking about losing a parent. Now, her parent didn't die, but she talked about addiction, divorce, whatever, like where you go from seeing the parent consistently to little to no contact. And she was talking about she had to do it in multiple takes because she couldn't, she couldn't. But it was important. It was important for me to watch it, because I've got, one particular daughter, kid that, they're very similar personality-wise. I'm actually going to put the link in the description. You should check it out because it was an interesting angle. I grew up that way, but I had my dad till I was like 4, and then I didn't have him. Basically, we were kidnapped. Shout out to my mom. But it pretty much, and I remember being a real young, like very, very young, like we had just come to the country. I remember in the shower, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I remember being incredibly sad, and I had no idea why. I was very, very young, but I was also very, introspective and yada, yada, yada. And like some of the stuff that she was talking about, like the attachment disorder stuff, wanting her dad, but then not wanting him, and those things, it was an obvious tough video to watch, but it kind of helped me understand myself a little bit, and it also, and then at the same time, it was like, I was initially watching, like, oh, I'm gonna watch it for, my kid, because, like, she's got, whatever. And it didn't even occur to me till like just now that I had also had that experience growing up, because I disassociated. But, it's one of the things that, I talk about it all the time, like how easy it is for me to just detach from people. Like it was really interesting. I was talking to my dad one time, like one of the few times when we were talking, and he was like, I don't know what happened. Something came up, and he goes, "You don't miss your friends?" Which basically means, don't you miss your friends? And it was such an awkward moment because nobody had ever asked me that before, because we would just move around. Yeah. So I think, my mom and my stepdad were trying to like swim around that topic because, but I don't know what happened, and he I had such a weird thing with my dad, man. Like I see certain mannerisms from myself in him, and I see, like, especially like the way he is with his Bible, like the guy just.
I didn't know that.
Oh man, he's like, and the way he connects stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's where I got it from. Yeah. My mom was more like, emotional and that sort of like visceral relationship with God, but she would write. She was, but my dad is more like very, very analytical, so it was weird, and it's weird. He has certain perceptions, gifts of perceptibility that are also like he knows things about people, and I don't know if it's necessarily like supernatural as much as it is. Some people just have a knack for understanding, reading people. Trump is a people reader. Johan's a people. But anyway, he looked at me. We were in the kitchen, and it was such a weird moment because I'm like, we've had like 8 conversations in total, like face to face, like since I left at 4 years old. And at the time, I had 2 kids. Yeah, Zoe was just born. She's just a baby. And we were in the kitchen, and he said that. He said, "Don't you miss your friends or whatever?" And it was a very, very weird, strange, awkward. I generally don't feel awkward a lot in situations. I generally don't. But that was a weird moment because it was the first time anyone had really ever. And it was weird because I don't miss them at all. And it's it's a. But so hearing Janaea talk about attachment disorder and things like that, I was like, oh, I'll Google that and be obsessed with that and look at that for about 2 months and see if I'm probably certain that, if there are 10 characteristics, I'm at probably 9.5 of them because it's just very, and I've always said, like, it has utility, like it's very helpful to me in certain circumstances, and I don't perceive it as having any like deleterious effects on me. Like, I don't really feel like it has any negative effects on me. But I always say, like, I'm not certain like that's the best way to handle those types of situations. So I'm kind of like in the training wheels, like with our community, like there's certain people I have certain conflicts with, and like normally I would just be like, oh, okay, like, because I don't freak out. I don't spend a lot of time like fighting and arguing. Like, that's the thing that's the paradox about me, is like, if I like you, like, I'll fight with you and I'll argue because like I'm fighting for the relationship. But if I do the arithmetic and I don't really see the point of it, I just never talk to you again, and I won't miss you. And of course, that doesn't apply to everybody. Like, I would miss you a lot. I would miss the kids. I'd miss my brother. So it's not like everybody, but there's just a very, 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 very small group of people to where, So anyway, just watching her talk about that was like pretty crazy, because one of the kids is like that too. Like, I feel like one of them would be able to just whatever and
Interesting.
yeah, I feel like if one of them got crossed by one of their friends, like their friends didn't live up to her code, like she'd never talk to him again and not miss him at all. And I wonder, like, how much of that is the attachment stuff or the lack thereof or whatever. So anyway, thank you, Janaea, for that. But hey, you're always growing, and it's all about self-improvement.
Yeah, and she said, like,
that's important.
That she looked into it and that she has had a lot of, like, the way she's talking, it sounded like she's had a lot of growth with it. Yeah. That she didn't let herself just, like, she was saying, like, what she was, like, about the detachment stuff and how she reacted to it. Like, some of it, she changed it as time progressed. Like, she really worked on herself with self-improvement to get through some of that stuff.
Yeah, and we're
instead
not
of just accepting it about herself.
Yeah, that's a really, really, self-improvement is a big thing to me, because we're not enslaved to our past and the way that we grew up or whatever. Like, people can change. You just have to you got to kind of be maniacal about it, and you have to kind of take stock of yourself and see your, like in I'm blessed to have the channel because we're reviewing these lyrics and things like that, and certain things pop, and it's weird, like, as we talk, there've been so many times on the channel where, like, as we talk stuff out loud, there's a lot of self-discovery that happens. And if you're open to the concept of self-discovery and self-improvement, then because I know the song is about literal death. I understand that. We've talked about death like trillions of times on the channel, and I'm sure we're going to talk about the lyrics at some point, but I just, the song was so close in proximity to that, like, we literally watched the video right before we started recording, because definitely want to support Janaea's channel, because she's a young woman who's she's not talking shit. Like, she's talking about... Yeah,
she's good.
She's talking about real stuff. And she's also, like, it's... Sometimes, like, when I rewatch some of our videos, I'm like, shit, man, that was like half an hour of just straight drudgery. but she's got the humor, you know, of her dad. Like, she obviously inherited that. She's got the humor and stuff like that, and so it's like, oh, okay. Like, that's good. Unfortunately, with Vin and Sori, you're just gonna get drudgery if it's a serious topic. But yeah. So it was definitely like food for thought for me, and it made me think about stuff, and then it made me think about that conversation in the kitchen with my dad, and you know, it's weird, man. Like, my dad is still alive, you know, and I always think to myself, like, yo, man, like, you better. It's not gonna be around forever. He's getting up there, so you know, you better. You know, while you have the opportunity, you should develop that relationship. You know, but I don't know. I don't know if it's one of those things where it's. I don't know. Maybe it's not being able to talk to my dad for so long as a kid. Maybe I had to shut down certain aspects emotionally that. When you combine that with the moving around, it just makes it so easy. People look at it like, "Oh, you heartless motherfucker!" Like, it's not like I'm mad at you. So I don't have the energy to deal with it. I don't have the energy, and like I'm always like, you know, surrounded by so many people, and it's like, well, I don't have the energy to deal with you. And then especially if like a person breaches trust, like it's not like, oh my God, you hurt my feelings, you breached my. It's just like, okay. Now I gotta spend extra amount of time because now I know I can't trust you, or I know that when pressure's on, you're gonna you know, bail. So that takes way too much energy to cultivate that relationship. So, and like that's whenever I think about like cultivating a relationship with my dad. I hope he doesn't see that. I'm pretty sure he won't. I always feel drained because like there's so much.
Oh yeah.
Baggage and so much like, you know, because he's like, you know. You guys were taken from me, and you're treating me like I'm some deadbeat dad, and I wasn't that dad. And I talk very glowingly about my mom all the time. My mom was not perfect, and my dad was not a deadbeat dad. Like, I wasn't one of those stereotypes where the guy gets a girl pregnant and leaves. Like, he was in Jamaica, didn't have a lot of capital. My mom had all the capital, and like I said, I love her, God bless her. But she essentially kidnapped us from Jamaica. I mean, those are the facts. On his birthday, no less. So, like, anytime I think about having, like, trying to rekindle that relationship or kindle a relationship with my dad, like, I have a hard time because it's, and I didn't find that out. I didn't find out that side of the story till I was, like, 18 years old. So I had one specific narrative from 4 to 18. And then, by the time I actually heard the truth stories, my aunt came up and she said, you know, my mom was there just smoking her cigarette, and I'm looking at Mom like, and I was 18, I was in New York at the time, I was completely crazy.
You're so perceptive that there's no way she could have.
Yeah. And you know, at the time, it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna pick up my phone, call my dad. Like, my brother had already started, you know, rekindling that relationship with my dad, my older brother, and you know, I just, you know, so at 18, I wouldn't have done it regardless. I was crazy. We were out in the streets. We were, you know, doing all the dumb shit that we were doing. And I didn't even think I was going to make it out of New York, much less start a relationship with my dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, so by the time I was able to calm down and think things through, when I would think about my dad, I would just get exhausted, get tired.
Yeah.
Like, there's certain, I was talking about somebody else where the minute she popped into my mind, I immediately got tired. I'm like, oh my God. Like, and I would just rather, you know, just throw money at that situation and, okay, you're good, all right. And then, you know, but, yeah, I don't know. And I feel, you know, as a father, like, now that I've got kids and, you know, the prospect of Dorian, you know, striking out on his own, and he's going to be very, very successful, you know, and he's not really going to need, you know, so yeah, so now I'm looking at it from my dad's perspective, like, you got this kid, you love him, you can't have a relationship, and he's reached out, he's you know, but he's not gonna, you know, he's not gonna beg. I mean, he's a man, I understand, like, he's not gonna, but he's definitely, like, put himself out there for sure. And, you know,
well, he probably doesn't know too, like, how much to it might not be so. I mean, I don't know him. I don't know if it's so much about, like, for me, like, if I was, let's say that something like that was happening and it was like one of my kids, like, I would be towing the line between, like, not wanting to push them too much, where then they're like, get the out of my life, you know what I mean? Like, because you obviously don't want that to happen, so kind of trying to be like, hey, like, I'm here, you know?
Yeah.
But not trying to overdo it, and especially, like, I think that there are certain personality types that are harder to read on stuff like that. Like you and, you know, the other person that you were talking about as well. I could see how that would be difficult to
100%.
know. You know.
Yeah, but that was the thing about my mom, was that she was able to. It's a very difficult algorithm. Like, you're still figuring it out. Like, you know, like relating to me, and like it's very nuanced and it's extremely difficult. I'm just saying that as an objective fact. It's I'm a very hard person to, because of my lack of availability and because I'm so good at the chameleon thing and things like that. People are always kind of like off balance, and then like I remember I was talking to one guy and I was like, yeah, we've never, you know, something happened or whatever, and he was like, I thought we were friends and da 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 da. And I was like, okay, how well do you actually know me? I've been working with this guy for 2-3 years. We worked together on some really important, you know, things in our city or whatever. And I said, I said, how much do you know me? And he said, he stopped for a second and he was like, I don't know you at all. And I said, yeah. And he said, well, that's your fault. And I said, absolutely. Like, absolutely. Like, you know, like you were always there. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm very, very difficult to work around and all that stuff. So, like, my mom was very, very, she was perfect with that stuff. Like, that, you know, she knew me exactly. And there's nobody that's ever, like, you know, known me like that aside from my mom. Losing her was pretty tough, but, you know, but at the same time, my dad was very perceptive of me. Who knows? He might be one of the, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just talking shit now. But yeah, interesting stuff. I don't know. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah. So this person, you know, lost somebody, but looks like the person died suddenly. As I said, you died before your time or something like that.
Yeah. And then there's always this, you know, people are saying, are you watching over us amongst the stars and amongst the moon? Will I be with you soon? Begging for another life to hear your voice again. Ugh, that part was, like, sad, because it's like, you know, that's, like, one of the things that sometimes, like, really bothers me is, like, you know, like, different people that I've lost, and I haven't had as big of losses as you have. Losing my memory.
Why do you always say that?
Because I always feel like yours have been very extreme.
You've had losses too. Like you know, like your meme is very important to you. You talk about her as much as I talk about my mom. You know, so like, why do you always do that?
Because my losses weren't as tragic as yours. I mean, my meme was old. You expect old people to die, you know, like. But it was still hard. My meme, I grew up with her, like, she was literally in our backyard. Wasn't a really good plan, but it was good for us kids. I liked it. I liked being able to go over to Meme's house, especially because it was so strict in our house. Like, going to Meme's was relaxed. Meme she was a stressful person. Like, she had, you know, she had things, all of her ducks were in a row. I think she was OCD and she was probably a narcissist. I don't really know.
100%.
But she was like, when we would go over there, she would cook for us and we'd sit down and watch TV with her, and she always had TV. And it's not like my parents were going to say, you can't visit your meme because we don't want you watching TV.
Right.
So we got to watch TV at meme's.
There's always a loophole.
Yeah.
Parenting 101.
Yeah.
Gents.
But, you know, times with her were this always, whenever I think about her, it makes me emotional. Times with her were good because life was simple. You know, you just go to Meme's house, she'd make you some fudge, she'd cook you some toast, you know? It wasn't like she cooked some big elaborate meals. They were very basic meals, but they were very good. Like Meme soup,
well,
you know
yeah,
what I mean? Like Meme soup is not...
I was just gonna say to this, you know, you call it Meme soup, you know, And I remember there was some event we were doing one time for the homeless in our area, and you were always like, let's not do like a oh, here's a grilled cheese. Like we went all out one time, and she made this giant batch of meme soup, and they loved it. We were able to set up the tables and stuff, and like everybody had.
And I was telling everybody, this is meme soup, and everybody was saying it all around.
Yeah, everybody's like, can I have another of that meme soup?
And a lot of people don't. First of all, I mean, it is partially a French town, obviously, so some people know what meme is, but other people don't know what meme is.
By the way, meme is French for grandmother, right?
Yeah.
And it's spelled MEMERE or something.
Yeah, there's
some
a lot
horrible
of
French misspelling. It's got the R in it. That's what. But
well, I think it's Mamere.
But like people, they loved that, and
I loved everybody saying meme.
It was a flavor, but it was also like it felt like it feels homey. Like every time you talk about it, I always like get a little. Oh, and it's really good, by the way. Very good, especially with some spices.
I should do it on the channel.
You should. Yeah, and I remember those people. They really, really, really enjoyed that. Like that was probably like one of the best times we had, because we had like 200 people there or something like that.
Yeah,
we made them all like hold hands and say, like, we say grace in this house. It's like it's a bar. But everybody stopped, and then you got your grilled cheese, but Sori's always gonna go a little bit.
Oh, it was so fun. I loved doing it. And taking it like to a level of excellence, I always like doing that. Yeah. I cooked the noodles, but I kept them separate and then put them in right before I passed it out, so they wouldn't get all swollen and nasty. Like El Dante, pass it out that way.
Yeah. Horrible on the budget.
But I know.
Horrible on the budget.
Now. So, like, I always used to do home-cooked meals all the time, and then I went through my divorce, and everything was just in disarray, and then I was nannying for you, and then after I was nannying for you for a while, then we ended up getting married, and then, it was like, I was just trying to get everything straight inside my head, and so I wasn't doing a lot of, like, home cooking. We were actually doing a ton of takeout.
Yeah.
And, you start just wanting, like, home-cooked stuff. And so once in a while I would like cook meme soup, and I'd be like, oh, and it was like so settling in my stomach, it felt so good. I was like, this is what people must have felt like, because it wasn't like cooking them up a batch of ramen. They ate the ramen when we cooked ramen.
Yeah, no disrespect to ramen. And no disrespect, if you've ever helped the homeless and you gave them ramen and grilled cheese, that's awesome.
Yeah,
it's just that.
The point, I said we gave them stuff like that. You can't do big stuff all the time.
Yeah.
But
you're also
being able to.
You're also literally the best cook I've ever met in my entire life.
I never used to admit it, but I like my cooking.
Literally the best. Like if Sori went on one of those Master Chef, like you would be a finalist, 100%, easy. You would easily be a finalist. But it's cool that. There are different ways to pass on legacy, and Meme wasn't a perfect person, but it was a pretty cool moment to be in a room full of people who she was center stage. It's one of those things where you give a thing of water to the prophet, you get the prophet's reward, and I think that definitely believe that got credited to her account that day for sure. I always see God be like, yo, check this out. You were miserable for most of your time on the earth. You're done good here. Look at this. Look at all these people. Shout out to Meme. And Jesus is real like that. He never lies to people. You're miserable. Like he tells me all the time, like, why are you so moody? Like, what's wrong with you? He does. Seriously. He does. I'm serious. I'm like, I don't know. I was in the car last night. I don't know why I had like a 2-minute break. Did we go somewhere yesterday? I don't remember. But anyway,
you went to the store last night.
I was in the car. He's like, "Why? What's wrong with you?" He's like, "This and this is going good." Man, I said, "Yeah, but yeah." He's like, "You just like being upset sometimes." Sometimes I do. It's true. It's true. It's a good conversation. Shout out to you. I love them. I know everybody thinks we're crazy. I know. Even Christians think I'm crazy, man. That's why I want to share with y'all so much. What do you give the song?
Okay, so it was kind of like, to me, it felt like a dark alien meeting Barbie. It's kind of a weird, like, her voice was, I liked it, but at the same time, it was a little bit like Barbie-ish, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So, it's going with like a 7.9 or an 8.
I'm gonna give it a 8.9. It was a little bit new metal-y, and I don't mean that in the negative sense because I love new metal. It was a little bit new metal-y. It's got that kind of like writing that one riff, which I love. Wasn't too complex, and they were in and out, in 3 minutes. Like, that's as far as the song was gonna go. Mm-hmm. And I like songs that are not pretentious. Mm-hmm. So they knew who they were in that song, so I appreciate it. Check out Janae's channel. Subscribe to her. Here.
Yeah, the link is going to be in the description.
I'll run a little contest for a week because I really want to promote this girl's channel. So we will give a free shirt away. Send us a picture of you subscribing to Janae's channel, and we'll do a random drawing.
One of you lucky subscribers is going to get a shirt.
We'll do a random drawing in 7 days and ship you a free shirt. And we're good for it because we just shipped 2 out. One of them was because of the secret number thing, and the other one was just, I was very touched by the email, so I sent him a shirt. So there you go. So you will get your shirt. We will ship it to you. Send us a screenshot of you subscribing to Janaea Welch's channel, and there you go.
VinandSori@gmail.com. Send that screenshot.
We'll give everybody a week. Because the last time there was a 25 and like somebody got it immediately and there was like 4 or 5 of them that came in after that. I'm like, I'm very sorry. So this one, we'll give it a week and then we'll do a random drawing. Shoot, maybe we'll even draw 2 names out of the hat. Who knows? I'll have to stop talking. Sorry to be like, you're gonna bankrupt our business. We're doing okay. We're doing all right. Give away free stuff. Subscribe to Janae's channel. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.
like the sun within my paralyzed lungs.